Wait a minute. I know this isn't spider mites. What the? If you have a lot of plants, there's a good chance that eventually you'll have to deal with spider mites. I recently purchased this plant and switched it out at the last minute right before I was paying. Didn't really take a good look at it. When I got home, I had some things to do, so I left it out here on the potting bench. The next day, I come out here, look at this plant, and realize that it is absolutely covered in spider mites. And I'm not talking just one leaf, I'm talking about all the leaves are pretty much covered. I've dealt with spider mites before, and usually the first thing that I notice is these little black dots on different parts of the plant. One way I discover pests on my plants is I like to take my cell phone and I will magnify it as much as it will and look at the leaf of my plant. And a lot of times when you think your plant is totally clean, looking at it that close up like you see here, you will find pests if they're on that plant. And a lot of times they're going to be in the nooks and crannies of the plant. For spider mites, I like to use a neem oil solution. This is the brand that I use. I find that it works best for me. So I kind of stick with it. If it's not broken, don't fix it kind of thing. But this is what the container looks like. And the directions call for mixing 1.5 teaspoons of neem oil per quart of water, 1 ounce to a gallon, plus a half teaspoon of mild dish liquid. The dish liquid acts as the emulsifier, so it breaks down the neem oil. Now, I always keep some of this on hand mixed up, and mine has been indoors in the AC, so it's oil. So if it gets cold, it solidifies. So I have some big chunks in this bottle, so I'm shaking it up really well. I like to use it in a spray bottle because I feel like it just gives me better coverage and it's easier to use. But if you don't want to use a spray bottle, I've seen people, just kind of put some of it on a cloth and wipe down the leaves. When mixing your solution, make sure you're not heavy-handed with the neem oil or the soap because it can cause damage to your leaves. Okay, now I'm ready to start treating the plant. And the first thing I'm going to do is really spraying down the soil. And you don't have to worry about this hurting the roots of your plants. In fact, this same neem oil solution can be used as a soil drench once every 7 to 10 days. And I learned that, I read it on the bottle of this neem oil. The way neem oil works is a component of neem oil acts as a repellent and also interferes with the insect hormone system. And it makes it hard for the insect to grow and lay eggs. And it also impacts their ability to feed. So what you want to do is really get in here and just spray down every single inch of this plant. When I'm using my neem oil solution and spraying plants, I really like to use a fine mist spray bottle. I just feel like you get much better coverage. Even though neem oil is organic, it's important to note that it can be irritating to your eyes and skin. So you may want to, put on a mask to cover your nose and mouth and wear long sleeves if you're someone who may be sensitive to this. Now, if I'm following the instructions on the container, I can just leave things here. Just let this dry, make sure the plant isn't getting any direct sun or anything like that so the leaves won't burn, and I could be done. But of course, I take things just a little bit further. I paid decent money for this plant and I really want to make sure that I get rid of these spider mites. So what I'm going to do, and I often do, is go in with a microfiber cloth because it's nice and soft, and I'm going to wipe down the plant. And this way I can get the webbing off, I can get the spider mites off as much as possible, and I'm just going to go through this whole plant. I mean, every nook, cranny, petiole, all of that. I'm going to wipe this plant down. I have a tendency to focus more on the top side of the leaves, but as you can see here, the spider mites are very busy on the back of these leaves. So make sure you treat the back of the leaves just as vigorously as you do the top side of the leaves. And don't forget, in between the lobes of the leaves, little crevices like that, they love to hang out. Now that I've wiped down this plant and totally sprayed it, I am going back in and spray it once again. The difference being this time I'm going to leave the solution on the plant to dry. So I'm going to make sure, just like the first time, I get every inch of this plant saturated with this fine mist of neem oil solution and also the soil. Now I'm going to leave this plant here to air dry. And also, even though this plant has been treated for spider mites, I'm not going to assume that they're all gone. And I'm going to make sure that I don't have this plant anywhere near the rest of my plants, because I don't want to run the risk of spider mites ending up on all the rest of my plants. So that's a very important step. It's been several days, so now I'm checking to see if I see any evidence of spider mites. I'm checking this spot in particular because a lot of times in between the veining, in between the lobes, that's where you first find evidence of spider mites. Now I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to look on the back of the leaves. I'm going to make sure I look where the petiole meets the leaf. On the veining, all of that. Just really check the plant to see if I see any evidence at all of spider mites. And fortunately, I don't. And here is a look at the plant today. It is spider mite free. Fingers crossed that it will stay that way. I haven't seen any evidence of spider mites on the plant, in the soil. But if I do, I won't hesitate to pull out that spray bottle, spray it down with the fine mist, let it dry. I will also continue to treat the soil just to make sure that if there's any eggs in there, that they will be dealt with as well. Now, if this was a plant already in my collection, I would definitely be treating the plants around it, and I do that periodically anyway. I will spray my plants down with a fine mist of neem oil as well as the soil, just as a preventative measure. Although this turned out well and I know how to treat spider mites, just keep in mind all of this may very well have been avoided had I just taken time out to really take a look at the plant before I bought it. So that's always the first step in preventing spider mites. Also, after you've treated your plant, if you find that spider mites are still present, feel free to go back and retreat the plant. The neem oil solution is mild enough that it will not harm your plant. That's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.